Today, we can turn on any TV and see the captioning for almost any program. And captions allow everybody, including persons who are deaf or hard of hearing, to follow the dialogue for better understanding. And for people who are hard of hearing, captions really make the spoken words easier to understand. It truly is the lifeline to all of this verbal instruction or even just listening to TV. Now, no hearing technology, whether it's the top of the line hearing aids or very recent hearing assistance technology, none of it restores normal hearing. And that means anyone with a hearing loss must expend more effort to listen. And this leaves us with fewer cognitive resources to really comprehend what is said. And I think now in this age of COVID, we're all experiencing this a little bit as we're trying to understand other people who are speaking in masks. There's that muffled quality. Things aren't quite as loud as we're used to having them. And so we are all needing to strain just a little bit more. And I think we can be a little more understanding of what students who are hard of hearing have been going through forever. So continually missing these bits and pieces of information really does impact vocabulary growth, and it often causes gaps in academic achievement. This is very typical for our students who are hard of hearing and who are deaf. And they typically watch the speaker. They watch the speaker's mouth, which makes it even more tough now when we have so many masks in use. And when students are misinformation, they realize they're not getting something, they rely on speech reading, which is that lip reading component. But this is also where captions really comes in to help fill in those blanks where you think you might have missed something and you just want to be sure, or you know you missed something and you need to rely on that information. So captioning really can be an accommodation, and in this way, a secondary accommodation for a student who has a hearing loss, who is using their hearing devices, or who is using an FM system or even an interpreter as their primary avenue to receive auditory information or that verbal instruction from that teacher, or even class-to-class communication. Captioning, having that present along with the other accommodations, can really provide that full picture of access. And it's also a part of universal design for learning. One of the main principles of universal design for learning is to offer information in more than one format. And this is to give all students a chance to access the material as best suits their particular learning strength. And multiple research studies support the use of captions to improve literacy and reading skills for students K-12. This isn't for students who are hard of hearing or who are deaf. Obviously, it helps them as an accommodation, but the research is very strong about the benefits for students who are typically hearing. Captions help establish a systematic link between the written word and the spoken word for our little guys, and they have been related to higher comprehension skills and also retention of meaning. Being able to both hear something and see something in print at the same time is good reinforcement for comprehension. And then it also can help those people who have difficulty processing speech, meaning they might be able to hear, but they take that extra part of a second and they're always a little bit lagging behind in their processing as compared to their typically hearing peers. And I think, again, in this age of COVID, when so many masks are used, we are all a little more challenged, and we all might be processing just a bit slower because we're not receiving that full information we're used to. And then the captioning, because they're seeing the words constantly, might provide more reading practice and more motivation to read, especially for our emerging or early readers. Real-time captions can be provided by automated speech-to-text software. And for many years, captioning meant you needed to have a person, a captionist, who was either present or providing services remotely, where a human being would be listening and then captioning. And recently, in the last few years, the accuracy of speech-to-text captioning, especially of Streamer, has really improved to the point where Streamer can be 98% accurate or better, especially when someone is using a microphone appropriately so that their input is very clear. Errors can occur when a speaker does not clearly pronounce a word, and that can cause a translation error. And I know that a lot of my errors are because I don't necessarily say each word as clearly as I could. And the translation algorithm of the automated captioning program can also influence the contextual accuracy. So these algorithms vary greatly from captioning product to captioning product. The consistency of automated captioning in a school setting can be influenced by the speaker's appropriate use of the microphone transmitter and the clarity of speech. I think as we've all been experiencing online learning and these Zoom meetings, it's really clear that when someone uses a headset, we can all understand better. And the same thing is true for the captioning. When someone uses a headset, the captioning accuracy is going to be much higher. Captioning is increasingly being required in online learning situations. And this has brought up real concerns about student security and the accuracy needs, and then also user friendliness. We all need to be able to use captioning and know it's going to work, that the student privacy is truly protected, and that once we learn a little bit about it, that we feel very comfortable using it all the time. Streamer can provide captioning in face-to-face communication environments. We've talked about Streamer for years in terms of using it in the classroom to help our students who are hard of hearing or deaf. But more and more, we're talking about it now in use in online learning or remote learning situations, or in the classroom when when the teacher and all the kids are wearing masks and the teacher uses, say, a sound field or a classroom auditory distribution system. So she has a mic so everybody can hear her better, but also having the captions helps fill in that blank too. So Streamer is a secure website developed by SpeechGear, and I think I'm going to let Rob Palmquist take over now since he's the developer. He is Mr. SpeechGear. Hey, Rob, do you want to take it away and tell us more about Streamer?
Yeah, Karen, no thanks. Happy to do that. And yeah, let me just move this around a little bit. And I'm going to change some things up here a bit. And hey, Karen, I was just going to mention, you talked about the masks and stuff in the classrooms. And we're getting a lot of feedback now from students and teachers that in the past simply did not ever raise their hand and say they want captioning systems. But now that the teacher is wearing that mask, they've lost the ability to read the lips. And so even though the student never thought that they were lip reading, the reality is without that visual cue, their ability to understand has diminished considerably. I thought that
Very
was
true. Our hard of hearing kids are really at an even greater disadvantage than ever before because they don't have the lip reading, and so many of them are lost more than ever before. So
Yeah, and so we're seeing that, and you know, it's interesting because yeah, all the live stream coming in and that being the focus, but now we're getting back into sort of classroom situations, and people are discovering those masks. On the downside are hiding the lip movement, but on the upside, if we want to try and put a positive spin on it, if you're wearing a lapel microphone, that's a great place to clip your lapel mic is to your mask. So not much of an upside, but at least there's one there.
very true. And I know that people have tried to use the clear masks thinking that that's really going to be the way to address the needs of these kids who are hard of hearing. But the research is showing us that the clear masks muffle the speech even worse than any other kind of mask.
Yeah,
And
we're getting
and
a lot of negative feedback on those clear masks. Yeah.
Right, so we can't rely on what makes sense, and that's just let the kids see the face and they'll be fine, because it really does impede hearing what it is that teacher and everybody else has to say.
And so, yeah, let's get back into some of the demonstrations. So you've been seeing this captioning happening right now, where Karen and I have been chatting, and over on the side here, you can see our various names, the pictures of who is speaking. And so you can kind of see how the captioning works. Anytime somebody starts speaking, the captioning pops up their name and you're able to see that. I'm going to turn off the captioning for just a second here and sort of switch modes on you. So I'm going to turn this off, clear the transcript. If I could type right, there we go. And I'm going to jump into a different mode just to show you another way of presenting everything. I'm going to launch the overlay tool. And so now with this overlay tool, if I click that on, so now everything's going to be captioned in the overlay tool. And I think I'll use this for a little bit. I'll make this a little bit bigger, I guess. Let me scroll this up. There we go.
I know when I do a presentation, either a Zoom presentation, I really like the overlay. I know we have the option for Streamer Zoom, but this seems to be so quick and accurate, and it's right there. So yeah, thanks for showing us the overlay.
Yeah, so in this case, what you'll see is over on the left side, the picture of the person who is speaking and the name. And with the overlay, you can change these settings however you want. I think I'm going to make this background a little more solid in color. But I could change the font, the color, the number of lines, anything like that. And so with this now, we're able to see the overlay mode in use. So going back to my slides here. So the website is developed by the parent company, SpeechGear, and it's a website that we're going to customize for your particular school. We're going to create a lobby, and I'll get into what a lobby means in a minute, but that's where all your captioning rooms will be available. The number one question that we get by far from people is the system private and secure? I'm going to shrink that down to 3 lines. And yes, absolutely everything that we do is very much private and secure. A really quick background is that Streamer started development in partnership with the U.S. Marine Corps. The U.S. Marine Corps needed a private and secure system that they could use to provide translations in theater operations, meaning in the battlefield. And so they came to us as a result of some previous work we had done with them, and we created that system. So security is not an afterthought. You're kind of seeing that with Zoom, where all sorts of issues popped up. With Streamer, it has been a requirement from day 0. So everything that we do, it's built into our architecture, it's built into our culture, that everything we do is very much focused on being private and secure. With Streamer, you can certainly use this to caption any sort of situation. So in this particular case, we're going to focus more so on in the classroom or remote learning situations. But let's say you have an IEP meeting and you have a parent that would prefer to speak Russian, or I just had one wanted to speak Romanian this morning. Whatever that language is, Streamer is going to be able to translate that for you and be able to present it to those individuals in their native language. And by present, I mean both captioned and spoken out loud. Because it's a website, it also works with pretty much everything that's out there. So we're going to talk a little bit specifically about Zoom. It seems to be a very popular platform that schools are using. And so we'll talk about the Zoom integration, but certainly you can use this with pretty much any application that you have going. And we do support a lot of different languages. And so if you have a parent that would prefer to speak another language, or you have, for example, an ESL class, in this case, Streamer is going to be able to simultaneously translate whatever you are saying into every student's desired language. And the last trip that I took before I got grounded because of COVID, I spent 2 weeks in Vienna and Austria, Vienna and Geneva, kind of 2 nice places to be stuck, I guess. But there, the United Nations Zero Project Assembly did exhaustive testing on automated systems versus their humans. And at the end of that 2 weeks of testing, they selected us as their translation and captioning system that they're going to go with for all their assemblies, meaning their gatherings. And again, that's for the Zero Project, a subchapter within the United Nations.
Very cool, Rob. Congratulations.
That is cool. That's kind of the ultimate endorsement, when the United Nations goes through that process. So thanks. Um, I noticed on this slide just now that Chromebooks are not shown. Well, Chromebooks are very happily running Streamer, and so I should have Chromebooks on this slide as well. But it runs on pretty much every device out there, and it will run the same on every device. So a $39 Fire is going to run just as well as a $3,000 gaming laptop. So you do not need to spend a lot of money on computers, and whatever device that student has in their remote learning situation is going to work absolutely fine with Streamer. Do not worry about CPU or RAM or anything like that. The bandwidth needs are certainly much less than what's going on with Zoom, because we're just captioning audio, encrypted audio versus video feeds. So what you have then is this captioning system that you, meaning the teachers, the students, everybody could use anytime without any scheduling, without any concern of burning minutes or being charged a per session fee or something like that. And you can use it with pretty much any application. So we'll get to pricing at the end here, but everything is unlimited use. Unlimited number of minutes, unlimited number of sessions, unlimited number of user accounts. So everything is certainly there for you. Okay, let's talk about rooms and what that means. So this is a concept that we use. We use the analogy of a conference room. And so when you go into a conference room, you may have a conversation, or a classroom. You go in and give a lecture. So within that room, you have a variety of people that have joined you in that conversation. In the streamer's case, the room is a virtual room. And so it's an online room where you can have as many people as you want come into the room and join you in that conversation. The rooms are shown in your lobby, and I'll show you that in a minute. And all you do to enter a room is click on it. With each subscription that you add to your account, we're going to add an additional room to your school district's lobby. And so that's what you're paying for, is each additional room that you have in your lobby. User accounts are completely free. And this is how people are going to get into your room. This is how they knock on the door and come in. Everybody needs to have a user account. There's no concept here of a invite code or a barcode that you have to scan or a URL that you send out. Every access to the room is with a password protected user account. And again, accounts are completely free. You can create as many as you want, and they take about 30 seconds to generate. So it's pretty simple to do that. But again, every account is going to have a password, and that account is going to be used every time you access Streamer. So
So
like
Rob,
with,
so if
yeah,
you have like a fifth grade class and a teacher has, let's say, 25 students, she'd have a room, a streamer room, and then she'd go ahead and set up an account for each of her students, or have the students set up an account. Gosh, kids know how to do that now. And then when she has her class online or remotely, they can be signed on, and then they can talk into the microphones on their devices, and they would be captioned. Is that how it works?
yeah, that's the basic way that it's typically used. And I'm going to show you the Zoom integration. And so with Zoom integration, if you do not want to allow your students to have these streamer accounts access to the room, that's fine. Then you can use the integrated menus within Zoom, and students will just use the Zoom menu to view the captions. So I'll show you that. And so lots of different options here. And on the good side, lots of different options. So Streamer is going to be able to fit whatever your desires are, whatever your plan is for your classroom and your students. You're going to be able to use Streamer in that fashion, versus you having to change what you're doing just because Streamer can't support it. So that's the upside. The somewhat more complicated side is that because there are so many options, there's a lot of features and it can get a little overwhelming. So I'm going to step you through this. We're going to talk about the recommended options, but definitely if you're thinking, oh, if only I could do such and such, let us know, because odds are it can do that for you.
So we have a question about if it works on Google Meet. Does it work with Google Meet?
Yeah, and so I'll get to some of the remote streaming in a few slides here, but definitely you can use open and closed with Google Meets, and you're going to have a nice secure system that you're going to be able to use. And with Zoom, we also provide the integrated option. And so lots of different ways to do that. By open captioning, that's what you're doing right now. And so we're viewing this live stream where everybody is seeing the captioning. If you I did actually record this, so afterwards I'm going to send you a link, but you'll be able to see that captioning in the recording itself. Closed captioning means only the students that want to view the captioning will do so. And they'll be able to do that on their computer. And as they're listening to the live captioning or watching the live captioning, they'll be able to add private notes to their transcript. I'll show you that in a minute. And that's a really nice feature that a student can add their own private notes. Again, everything we do is very much private and secure. So nobody else is going to be able to see those notes. And that way they can tag important parts of that transcript and have it be part of their notes when they download it and save it. So again, just to kind of emphasize this user accounts versus rooms. So if you have a streamer room, you could have somebody jump into that room. In this case, John has signed in and he's using the streamer room and he's invited Susan and Fred to join him. And you can have as many people as you want join you in that room. So if you have 30 students for a class, that's absolutely fine. If you have 300 for an all-school assembly or 3,000 maybe for an all-school assembly, that's absolutely fine. Yesterday, the local district here, the superintendent did a town hall where he invited anybody in the town to log in and watch his presentation on what's going to happen with the local school district. And there they captioned it, and they had a little over 300 people that were signed into the captioning. Spanish mostly, quite a few Arabic. So that kind of surprised me. It's our local town, but that was nice to see. Well, that was really nice to see. So different types of accounts, and then we'll get into setting up your account and how to use it with live stream. When you subscribe to Streamer, we're going to set up an admin account for your school district. And so if you're more on the admin side here, the IT side of your school program, this is the account that you would use. So this admin account is all powerful. This is not an account you're going to share with students or something like this. With this account, you're going to be able to view every room that's in your lobby without exception. And you're going to be able to see those rooms and all the above. So again, a very powerful account that you're going to keep for yourself. You can also assign rooms to individuals and locations. So if, for example, you have 4 elementary schools, you may want to start assigning rooms to those individual schools, and the admin person at that school would then have access to them. You can set all the usage permissions globally at this stage. So if you want students to have the ability to download a transcript, that's fantastic. If you would just assume that they did not have that ability, you can turn that off. The ability to clear the transcripts, things like this, are all items that you can do with this global admin account. Again, that's going to be able to control all the rooms in your district. One platform, it's a website, so you can access that from anywhere at any time that you have a computer that connects to the internet. Now also for teachers and students, we're going to create individual accounts for you. And with these individual accounts, now when you log in, instead of being able to access all the rooms, you're only going to see the rooms for what you have been given permission to use. So for example, a student is only going to be able to see their room. They're not going to be able to see every other student's room. Again, privacy is a big thing of what we do here. And so when a student logs in, they're just going to be able to see their individual room. Shared accounts, you probably won't use as much, but they're there. And so I'll give you a copy of these slides and you can read up about those a little bit more. Very commonly used in webinar settings like this one. Church settings, the shared accounts are used all the time, but not so much in a school setting. Okay, I'm going to jump out of this mode here. I'm going to go back to Streamer. Let me get back to that. Okay, close this. And I'm going to try and do a split screen here. Let's see how this works. And so if I slide this one over and make it a little bit bigger, I'm going to shrink this one down. So apologize for watching my screen move around here, but I think if I can do this right, it'll work out well. So I'm going to put my slides on the left and put the captioning on the right. And there we go. Now we can kind of see both side by side. So when you first sign up for Streamer, we're going to create that admin account for you. And you're going to want to configure your account. Looks like I have some of that slide missing, so let me shrink that down some more. And I'm going to give you the steps here for what it takes to configure your system. And it's a pretty straightforward, simple thing. So there we go. I think I've got everything about as good as it can get. So all you're going to do, and I'm going to turn off the captioning here for a minute, so I apologize for that, but we'll be right back. What you're going to do is log into Streamer. So if I turn this off, there we go. You're going to open a Chrome browser. There we go. And you're going to go to www.streamer.center. And when you're there, you're going to click in on the login button. You're going to log in using the account that's been created for you. And if you don't have one, you'll click on the create one, and you're going to create an account for yourself. In my case, I already have one, so I'm going to click on login. All right, and when it does that, what it's going to do is bring me to my lobby. And so here in my lobby, you can see some of the various rooms that I have access to. And I have it zoomed in quite a bit. Maybe if I zoom out, it'll look better for you. And so here you can see all the various rooms that I have access to. And in this particular case, I just want to select the room that I'm going to be using. And so we're using this particular room, so I'm going to jump in there. And when I do that, all I do is click on the room to enter it. And when I do that, now I can click on my microphone and everything once again is captioned. All right, and let me show you one shortcut item here that I really think is nice to do. And so again, for configuring your account, this is the last step that you'd want to do. And we're going to send you copies of these slides. But what you will do is come up here to the Chrome settings in the upper right, click on that, come down to more tools. So it's about 2/3 of the way down, and then click the create shortcut option. What that's going to do is create a desktop icon, a shortcut. And so the next time, I already have one, so I won't create one, but the next time you want to use Streamer, all you're going to do is click on that shortcut, and that's going to place you directly in your Streamer room. So again, from then on, after you've configured the account, all you need to do is double click on that desktop icon, and that's going to place you directly in your Streamer room. So that's really nice. I mean, so very quick to configure that system. Again, you logged in, selected the room, and now you've created that desktop shortcut. So from now on, every time you want to caption your lecture or your conversation, the classroom instructions, whatever it might be, all you need to do is double click on that desktop icon and then click on the Streamer microphone down here, and everything will be captioned. Again, no URL codes or invite codes or things like that that you have to worry about. And that's all because we have those password protected user accounts.
Hey, Rob, since Zoom is so commonly used in schools, can you step us through the Streamer Zoom integration that's so easy to use?
Yeah, let me jump down to that. So I'm going to skip over assigning rooms to students. It's getting a little more into the details that once you start using Streamer, you're going to be able to do that. And so let's scroll right down to, we'll come back to some of these other ones if time permitting. Let's go right down into the live streams. So as I mentioned earlier, you have open, closed, and integrated options. And so open captioning is basically what you're seeing now. So you've seen 3 different flavors of that, if you will. One where we started out with the captioning at the bottom of the window, and everybody was able to view that captioning where it was underneath the Zoom feed or the PowerPoint slides or whatever you're using. Then we showed you the overlay mode where it's superimposed on top of the slides. And now I'm showing you kind of a way where it's positioned on the right side of the screen versus the left side. I think I'll increase this font size a little bit, make it a bit bigger for you. And I think I'll close this side panel just to make it a little easier for you to read. There we go. So with open captioning, everybody is going to be able to view that captioning, and it's going to be part of your recording. With closed captioning, only the individuals that want the captioning will see it, and they're going to be able to choose whatever language they want. And so if you're saying something in English and somebody would prefer to see and hear what you're saying in Somali or Arabic or Vietnamese, whatever it might be, they're going to be able to choose their language preference. And when they respond, you're going to hear it and see it in English. So a really nice feature to do that. Also with the closed captioning, I'll show you this option really quick. I'll show you the side panel again. Students, as I mentioned earlier, have the ability to create phrases, and they'll be able to use this to tag the live transcript. So as you're talking as a teacher, a student, for example, could click on this one, study for test. And when they do that, that gets inserted into their private copy of the transcript. Pretty nice. By the way, we did a quick survey of students, and the #1 phrase that they use for remote streaming is this one: stop the listening. What they're doing is tagging that part of the transcript, part of the live feed, with the area in which they, for some reason, got distracted. And so the dog started barking or something happened. And so they put a place mark in that transcript that says, hey, here's where I was able to stop paying attention. And so later on, when they download the transcript, then they're able to see that and be able to view it appropriately. Okay, so that's the closed caption, and I guess I'll show you that real quick, and then we'll show you integrated. So with the, I mentioned download, so let me show you that. I'm going to come up here to the streamer settings and click download transcript. When they do that, the student has the ability to select the time frame, the font, so in this case I'll go with Word document, and notice down here we have include a summary. What that is going to do is take the entire contents of the lecture and summarize it into whatever you want, either a short summary, meaning a couple sentences, medium or long, being much more lengthy, but you'll have that at the top of the transcript. So you have the actual captioning with everybody's words, then you have the notes that you have entered into that, and then you have a summary at the top. So it's a really nice note-taking system. A lot of positive feedback on that. So that's the closed one. The closed one tends to be the preferred approach for students, definitely in high school, absolutely in college, that's what they're using, and perhaps for middle school. As you get younger age, then the integrated one becomes more popular. And so let's talk about that. So with Zoom, you can tie Streamer directly into Zoom's closed captioning menus. It's pretty simple to do, and this works with both the paid and the free versions of Zoom. And so if you have a free copy of Zoom with whatever the minute now is, 40-minute limit, something like that, but this is going to work absolutely fine with that free version as well. So what happens with that, let me make this a little bit bigger again. Oops. Yeah, I'll just leave it this size. What happens with that is within Zoom, what you have is something called the API token. I don't have a way of showing that to you really right now. I can show you the results of it though. Unfortunately, you can't see the Zoom menu that I have in front of me. But in that menu, there's something called the closed caption option. And what I'm doing right now, I'll describe it to you, is I just opened up that menu, and when I do, it gives me the option to copy the API token. And so I just clicked on that copy API token option. And again, you can't see that because Zoom hides the menus. They just show it to the person locally. But I've just copied it. So now I'm going to turn off the captioning for a second and just start over, clear this caption out. And I'm going to come up here to Streamer Settings, and I'm going to go to Zoom Closed Caption. And I'm going to paste that token that I just copied into there. And I guess I'll go ahead and leave it at the medium buffer size, and then I'm going to click Start. And I'll remember to turn on my captioning. And when I do that, now everything that I'm generating in Streamer is going to be able to be displayed in the Zoom show subtitles. So right now on your end, you're watching this Zoom meeting, if you're watching it live, what you can do is go to the show subtitles option. So it may be under your More button, but go to closed captioning menu and then click the show subtitles option. And you should at this point be able to view those subtitles as they're being generated for you. Okay. All right. So that's the integrated side. And let me pause for a second. Any more questions coming up?
Yeah, Rob. We have some specific questions. There's something called schoolology, and another one about Microsoft Teams. I know that you've worked to get this streamer Zoom integration with the API. What about these other live stream options?
Yeah, and so with those other live stream options, Schoolology being a little bit different, but with the live stream options, you can use open and closed captioning. And again, by far for middle school and high school and absolutely college level, it's the closed captioning is preferred. But if you're going to be recording these videos offline, which you may well be doing with Schoolology, then you're going to probably use the open captioning. Now there's a third option, fourth option, whatever we're on here. And again, earlier I mentioned there's so many different options with Streamer that it can be a little overwhelming. But we just want you to focus on whatever you want to use. So instead of learning every feature, let's just focus on the ones that you want to use. But another option is that the student could generate the captioning on their own. So you, as the teacher or professor, have generated maybe a video recording of a lecture, and the student is going to watch that later on, and you unfortunately did not do any sort of captioning when you did that. The student now on their own using their computer, when they play the video, they'll be able to generate a captioning right then. So even though it's a recording that's being played, Streamer is just going to hear the words and it's going to caption it live. And it's going to generate the captions for that student in whatever language the student wants. So again, lots of flexibility here, but let's try and sort of narrow that down a little bit. If you're using Zoom in your school setting, and you have middle school and high school students, the preference tends to be the closed captioning. So you as a teacher, you're going to configure your account. Remember, we stepped you through that up to creating your desktop shortcut. When you want to start captioning, you'll double click on that desktop icon. It's going to place you in the room, and you'll click on that microphone. And at that point, you as the teacher, you can collapse the menu and Streamer will absolutely run fine in the background. The student on their end is going to do the same thing. They're going to double click on the desktop icon and they're going to be able to view the captioning on their end. They're going to be able to add notes and to download the transcript, and that's the way that will work. If you're dealing with students that aren't quite as comfortable with computers, so maybe a fifth grader or fourth grader, we're starting to get into that area where I cringe a little bit because we want to make sure that the student is a good reader. And so we're not talking about second graders here, at least the vast majority of second graders. In that scenario, then you're probably going to use the integrated option. And it's absolutely fine to use both simultaneously. So you do not have to pick and choose. You can do either one. And again, those are going to work with any sort of platform that you have, including the two that you mentioned.
Okay, we have some questions coming up. All of this discussion is wonderful because people are really seeking answers for their own selves. And we know that a lot of people use Apple products. And there's a question that says that this group attempted to use Streamer early in COVID with Apple products, and there was supposed to be an update that allowed improved access to the microphone on Apple products. And they understood that the issue they were having with double captions in Streamer with the way it captured audio feed on the Apple products would no longer be an issue. Can you tell us, is that better now?
Yeah, well, so with Apple products, you're going to be able to use it absolutely fine. There is a bit of a twist to iPhones and to iPads. And so if you're using a microphone on an iPhone or an iPad, there is, this is getting into a lot of the details. But great question. So with Apple as a corporation, anytime you use a microphone on your iPad or iPhone, Apple requires the developers of that app to share that video stream with Apple as a corporation. So Apple desperately wants to get a hold of your data and use that data. Our privacy model didn't agree with that. And so what we did is we created a free app. It's called Interact Streamer. And if you go to the Play Store, you'll be able to see that. And what that app does is it encrypts the audio signal. And so Apple still gets a hold of that audio signal, but it's totally gibberish. It's 64-bit encryption, so there's no way they're going to be able to decipher that to be able to use it in any way whatsoever. So on those two platforms, so that's the iOS system, and so that's the iPhone and the iPad, then there is the necessity, if you're going to use the microphone, that is, that we force you to use that free app. Again, that's all driven because we want privacy and security. In terms of the echo cancellation, so that's what we call the double entry in terms of captioning. And so that's a difficult one to solve, but you can see we're doing quite well at it these days. So Karen has been talking. I have my audio speakers on, so I'm not listening with an earbud. And what Karen is saying is not being automatically duplicated by the system. So it's a continual improvement of the echo dictation problem. And that's kind of what you were explaining there, where what happens is the built-in mic on everybody's computer is listening to what everybody is saying, and so potentially you get multiple instances of the captioning itself. That's a great question. Any more questions?
Oh my. Let me just
Let
give
me
me a
jump forward.
second.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me
Okay.
jump forward. I'm going to talk about these meeting rooms because that's a
Yes, the breakout rooms
yeah, the
are a big
breakout rooms.
question.
Yeah, I
Yes,
should have
great.
called them breakout rooms, meeting rooms. But we get asked this a lot, and we've been kind of thinking about different ways to better support that, because right now Zoom does not give you a way to provide captioning for all those breakout rooms. And so with the breakout rooms, what you can do, so this is a potential solution for you, is that in the lobby you have all these multiple rooms. So if I want to, for example, I can click on these additional rooms here. Um, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger because I want to show you what's happening here. So here's our main room, and this is where the captioning is occurring. And what we created is this quick access bar at the top, and I can rearrange the order of these in any way that I want. For example, I can get rid of demo. I don't really want that one right now. And I can quick click, and that's going to place me in that particular captioning room. And so if I have 3 breakout rooms that are going to occur during my Zoom meeting, I could set it up so that I have, so every guest, every participant has these 3 rooms shown in their quick access bar. And so now when they want to switch from the main room into a breakout room, they're just going to click on that room. And once they do that, now all the captioning would be presented in that particular new room, and they'd be able to see it in that room. So again, I'm going to jump back to the main room with Karen, and that's all it takes to jump back between the rooms is quick clicking. So I do not have to go back out to my lobby, which may have, in my case, lots of rooms here, and search for the right one, and it gets confusing and that sort of thing. All I need to do is put these various breakout rooms in my quick access bar, and with that I'm able to jump into them. So
Ooh.
again, if you have
So
three
wait.
go ahead.
Yes. So in terms of streamer, a school district would need to have or need to purchase, let's say they have 3 breakout rooms they want to use um, during a Zoom lecture. So they'd have to have a a room, a streamer room for the main teacher and for those 3 breakout rooms. So they'd have to purchase 4 rooms just for that teacher?
Well, yeah, well, in that case, they would have 3 rooms, one for the main one, and then for the 2 breakout rooms. And
Okay.
those breakout rooms are going to be reused over and over and over again. So you're not going to have them assigned to just a specific teacher. They're only going to be used intermittently throughout the day. And so that's just one way of being able to support these breakout rooms. And
So if we
yes, if
have
you have
a particular student who's hard of hearing and we're working just focusing on them, then the school district would need to say purchase 3 rooms so that he would have the ability to maybe maybe he would only be assigned to the breakout that's always going to be where the main captioning is,
right.
and the other breakout rooms he wouldn't be assigned to.
Right. If you're
So,
dealing with a single student, that's what you're going to do is place, keep them in the main room where the captioning is occurring. But if you're in a situation where you have multiple students that are hard of hearing or language issues, then this is one way of being able to support that,
okay,
where you would have for each breakout room that you would have an additional streamer room associated with that. And the students would have to click on these rooms when they go into the Zoom meeting room. They would also have to do that additional click to jump into the appropriate streamer room. And so
okay.
that's
And
one way of being
probably
able to support that.
a grade or several teachers could share the same breakout rooms and just coordinate a little bit about when they're going to do their breakout activities. So it's a good thing that Streamer is not very expensive, and it's also a good thing that there is a solution for this breakout room problem, because I know people are scrambling, they're screaming to find a captioning solution that
Yeah.
will help with
And
breakout rooms.
we've been playing around with different ideas to try and make it easier because the real weak link I think in this isn't the purchasing of the rooms. They're you know in the relative scheme of things they're so inexpensive. The real issue here is being able to get students, one, to jump into the Zoom breakout room, but then to also do that second click in the streamer room. And so we're playing around with ideas of how you as a teacher could take that group of students and be able to easily assign them to that second or third streamer room. And so that's coming along, and we're not quite sure what that's going to look like yet. We're playing with different concepts and different ideas to make that happen. Okay. So some great questions here. Let's see. How much time do we have right now? We got to make sure that we leave enough time for questions.
Yeah,
Um,
about 10 minutes.
yeah, so I'm going to jump through a lot of these a little bit fast. We're going to get you copies of these slides. So I'm going to go through these much faster than you have the ability to write down all the information, but don't worry about that.
And we have some great videos. And I
Yeah.
know I keep going back to the 6-minute captioning videos that you have up
Okay.
there. That's great.
Yeah, so we're going to get you these slides, and in the slides, anytime you see this light blue, that's a video that you can watch, and so that is the link to that video. And again, I'm going far faster than you can write all this down, but I do want to get to some other information. So first off, for those of you that haven't tried Streamer, we definitely want you to give it a try. It takes less than a minute to sign up for a free system. There is no credit card here, so there's no downside. It's not like if you forget to cancel your subscription, we're going to charge you. Again, you're not entering a credit card or anything like that. You're just going to go to the link that's shown there, and that's going to bring you to Karen's website. And there you will fill in the form. And so it's just 5 questions, pretty simple to fill in. You're going to put in your name and email address. The email address is important because that's where we're going to send you your login information. So don't just fill in some fake email address or something like that. It does need to be legit because that's how we're going to send you the information on how to log into your system. For the name of your admin account, if you're creating one for yourself, just go ahead and use your last name, and that'd be absolutely fine. But if you're creating one for your school district, if you want to start down that process, we recommend that you use the name of your school followed by -admin. All one word, no spaces. And so you can see the example there. And then the name of your first room would be the name of your school followed by -01. And if you do that, it just makes life simpler as you move forward, being able to do that. And when you fill in the form, remember to click the button at the very bottom. You'd be surprised how many people forget to do that. They fill in the form, but then they forget to click that button at the bottom. What you'll get when you do this, again, no charge, no credit card. You're going to get unlimited captioning, translation, and note-taking services for a full month. You're going to get your first streamer room. We're going to create that admin account that you'll use to manage any additional rooms that you add to your system. And you'll use that to invite others to come into your room. And again, unlimited captioning, unlimited number of user accounts, so no problems there whatsoever. Coming soon, Caption All, something that we've been saying is coming soon for a long time now. It's been much harder to code this, much harder than we first thought. and we are getting closer. We finally made the decision to completely change our speech engine model, which is a big deal. But with that, we're going to have Caption All working, and we're going to have a complete offline version of Streamer. So right now you need the internet, but coming soon will be a complete standalone capability.
So is Captionall what you could use to caption like Loom videos? So they've already
Yeah,
been recorded and you want to then add captions to them? Is there a
yeah,
way
and
to use
so
Streamer now to do that, or do we need to wait for Captionall?
no, you can use Streamer now to do it, but it's a little more complicated. And so there are workarounds that we have for it. And some of the workarounds are quite simple. You just hold a smartphone up to your computer speakers, and the phone is going to generate the captions, the phone running Streamer. And some of them are much more elegant. For example, using stereo mix as your default microphone. That doesn't mean much to most folks, but we have steps that you can integrate or can implement right now in order to get the Caption All capability. Once it's ready, all you'll do is come up here to Streamer Settings and click Caption All, just like we did the Zoom closed captioning. And so it'll be much nicer when it's done. And again, getting closer.
Well, I know that people are scrambling to provide captions to like Loom lectures. So
Yes.
if
Yep.
if you can poof up a nice little video to show how to use Streamer to do that now, especially for people who get the 30-day trial periods or purchase in a Streamer room, that would be really helpful now. I know Captionall's been promised for a long time, Rob. That's why I'm kind of
Yeah.
saying,
No, that's why I said
tell us
we've
how to
been on
use
this.
Streamer now, because that's what we need. We need it now.
We've been on this sliding delivery date for Caption All, and it's been frustrating, but it is much closer today than it was a week ago. But boy, it's been a road to get that. But yeah, we do. If you want to use Caption All today, contact us. We do have. We've evolved it. We used to have like 5 or 6 different options, and we've shrunk that down to make it much simpler. And we can step you through that process and
Hey,
make that
Rob,
happen pretty
for
quickly.
for the follow-up email that's going to go out to all of the participants, since this is such a hot topic, could you maybe attach a document that steps everybody through how to do it?
Yeah, I'll give you
That'll
a link
save
to
a
a
lot
document.
of people contacting you individually, since we have over
Yeah.
100 people on the call.
Yeah, yeah, we're over 100, that's for sure. Yeah, I'll include a link to a document with the information on that. And some of them are very simple to implement, but you do need a special cable that costs $4. So it's not the cost that's a big deal, it's that you have to have the cable. But again, Caption All is coming. The other one coming is Streamer Groups. And so once we get Caption All, this will be done. And that allows you to group all your students into a single account. And so that'll be very nice for teachers. That's coming out very soon. Within Zoom, the press to talk capability is coming. So one of the items that I mentioned earlier, but I don't know if you quite caught that, is that right now with Zoom, in order to mute your microphone, you need to click in 2 places. You would need to click the Zoom microphone and the Streamer microphone. And then to turn it on, you're going to have to click on 2 places as well. So once we get this Caption All stuff done, these others fall into place quite quickly, but we're going to have a push to talk capability for Zoom. And so what that means is when you press the space bar, both your Zoom and Streamer microphones will be activated, and it will caption and everybody will hear what you're saying. And when you release that space bar, then you'll be going back to a muted state. And it works in reverse. And so if by default you want your microphone on, you can do that. And then when you press the space bar, it will be muted just while you've pressed it. So commonly called a cough switch. But certainly that's coming. And so I think that'll be a big deal. Probably more so for business users than for school. But that's kind of a big deal being able to do that. And another business item is the translation of subtitles. And so right now you can do that using closed captioning, but you can't do it integrated with Zoom. Kind of jumped ahead here because I do want to get to your website, Karen,
Yep,
and the
we only have
pricing.
a few minutes left.
Right.
So we
And
need to
so the
tie it up.
monthly cost here is for a room is $8.25, and that is going to get you unlimited captioning for that single room. And so typically in a school setting, you will assign a room to each particular student that has requested those services. So for $8.25 a month, you're going to be able to provide that student with those services. Again, completely unlimited, so there's no concerns about per minute caps or session fees or coming back at the end of the month and having to pay some premium because you went over your limit. None of that will ever happen. It's one flat price. So that's for a single room. If you buy 10 or more rooms, you get a 25% discount. And 5 or more, it's a 20% discount. The more rooms that you buy, the larger the discount. And so if you're going with a large district, I mean, it's very easy to get into the 50 to 200 room sort of thing, and contact us because you're going to get a quite significant discount. The more rooms that you purchase, the lower that per room price becomes. And so if you're looking at, let's say 50 students, do not multiply 50 times $8.25. It's going to be much more affordable than that when you're dealing with getting 50 students supported. And so the other one that I want to quickly mention is that at the very beginning, Karen mentioned the universal design for learning approach, where every student has equal access to the captioning systems versus just those that it's on an IEP. If you're going to go that route, and we totally endorse that, what you will pay is a flat fee for your district, and that's based on the number of students enrolled in your district, the total number of students enrolled. And depending on the size of your district, that's going to come in right around 10 cents per, or 10 cents per month times the number of students. So very affordable. And that's going to give you an unlimited number of rooms. So now you can assign a room to every student, to every teacher, whatever you want to do. We'll step you through how that is working for districts, and we will do most of the setup for you. So we'll create the accounts for you, for example. If you want an account for every teacher, we will do that for you. We'll assign the rooms to the various buildings, that sort of thing. So a lot going on in that district-wide program. If that's of interest to you, just contact us with the number of students in your district, and we can get you a price quote, and we'll step you through the details on how to make that happen. Very popular right now overseas in Europe. This is what districts are predominantly doing, is going to a district-wide solution.
Well, especially with COVID and the masks and how it's just harder for everybody to hear, I think it's becoming more obvious that clear communication is really the foundation of education, and this is just.
Yeah, it's part of that whole solution, being able to provide that. And what we're seeing is so many kids that in the past would have never raised their hand and said I needed captioning systems. Now that they've lost the visual cues of that mask in the classroom, they're asking for it. They say they can't hear. And I think people have already realized that with the live stream situations, but definitely with the in-class situations, that's happening as well. Some contacts here and how to get a hold of us. So certainly that's going to be part of the slides that we'll send to you. We'll follow up with this, so you'll have all that contact information. I do want, in the very little time we have left, Karen, to talk about your website a bit, because there's so much information on here that's really beneficial to educators, not just for Streamer in general, but in Streamer in particular. Karen, can you kind of step us through that? Would you like me to bring up the website, or do you just want to use the slides?
I think with the time we have left, hopefully, since people knew about this webinar, they also have some understanding of the Supporting Success for Children with Hearing Loss website. And we've tried to make it really easy to find the streamer information. When you get onto successforkidswithhearingloss.com, there's a button right on the top. So you click on that, and then show the next slide, Rob. And then it will come up with what's on the left-hand side is on the top of that page, what's on the right-hand side is on the bottom of that page. So across the top, you can see, why streamer, the pricing, and sort of thing. So it's all right there. The bottom of that page has links to these most popular videos, like the ones specific to the streamer Zoom for open captioning and for closed captioning, and other videos are all right there. The next slide. I think there's one more. And then this is on the pricing or the purchase page. So you can ask for a quote, and a lot of school districts are doing this for multiple rooms. Most start off with a free subscription and then play around with it, show it to their administrators, have their IT person look at it, and then they look at purchasing one or more rooms. So you can purchase your subscriptions here either for a set number of months or for annually. So if you only want it for until Christmas and give it a try that way and pay for that, you can do that. If you want to pay for it for a whole year, you can do that and then get a discount on that year. So please go to the website. Otherwise, there's questions. Go to info@auditorysciences.com, and Rob and his team will answer your specific questions about Streamer. And we're at the end, so I wanted just to finish up and say, for those of you who are interested, I am very willing and happy to provide a CEU certificate for a 1-hour participation for those of you who are on the webinar right now, not for those who listen later on. You just need to email me at Karen@successforkidswithhearingloss.com. And my email is not up there. And request a certificate. You don't even have to put much in the subject line other than say certificate, and that would do it. So my email is Karen, Karen, @success, 4, kidswhl.com.
And if you send that to info, we'll forward that to Karen.
Yep.
So
I
just
do have
in the subject matter, put CEU certificate or something like that.
Right, and I do have a timeline. I need to get the requests by the end of tomorrow, so by Thursday at 5 p.m. Central, and I will get all the certificates out to you. If you don't get the request in by then, it will not be honored. Okay, thanks everybody. It's impressive to have more than 100 people join us. Hopefully you got some of your specific questions answered. You're excited about Streamer. You're ready to get your free trial. And Rob will follow up with answers that if we haven't gotten them from the chat room, he's really good about following up. So
I can stick
on.
around for a bit and I'll answer any questions. So those of you that have posted a question that hasn't gotten answered, stick around and we'll make sure it does get answered.
Yep, so stay there. I'm leaving. Thanks everybody, and have a great start to this crazy, crazy school year. Bye from Karen.
All right, yeah, and I can stick around a little bit, but for the rest of you that have to leave, thanks so much for joining us. Certainly appreciate you taking time out of, I'm sure, what is an extremely busy time frame. So again, thanks, and I'll go ahead and freeze the frame here just on the contact page. And for those of you that have questions in the chat room, I'll go ahead and start answering those now. Thanks so much.